Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Alexander Rodriguez. Yes, like the baseball player. And I'm a recent graduate of Aquinas College. Over the last 4 years, I've had the privilege of wearing many hats on campus. I earned a degree in political science with minors in journalism and English writing. I spent 4 years as a starter on the men's volleyball team, worked in the writing center, helped rebuild the student newspaper, spoke at contemporary writer series events, and participated in fundraising efforts that helped raise more than $70,000 for Mel Trotter's ministry. Looking at that list, it might sound like I arrived at Aquinas with a clear plan and a clear sense of direction. But the truth is, that couldn't be any further from reality. When I first arrived at Aquinas, my foot was already halfway out the back door. I was freshly 18 years old and had it figured out. I knew who I was, the things that were important, and of course, I knew how the world worked. The truth is, I never really planned on going to college. I figured I would work, figure things out as it went, and see where my life took me. Volleyball is what brought me to Aquinas. Looking back now, I realized I was mostly confident in the things I hadn't learned yet. I came to Aquinas expecting an education. What I didn't realize was I was about to experience something much more. My first semester of college hit me like a shock. I struggled often to put any effort into those around me, and I stopped giving into the community. I remember Julie Bevins pulling me aside during my second semester. I'd been coasting through the Writing Center meetings, doing just enough to get by, and she looked at me and essentially asked, "Do you even want to be here?" If I'm being honest, I didn't love hearing that. I respected Julie a lot, and her question stuck with me, so I started showing up a little bit more. I remember Dr. Durham getting really frustrated with me because I turned everything in political science into a joke. I thought being funny was enough. I thought that if I could make people laugh, I could avoid taking anything really seriously. I remember my best friend, Callahan Schwartz, questioning his own judgment because of the people I was surrounding myself with and the decisions I was making. And I remember my coach, Coach Crane, asking whether I wanted to transfer because there were moments where I wasn't sure I belonged at Aquinas. There were many opportunities at Aquinas for people to give up on me. And yet, nobody did. Nobody did. That's honestly one of the greatest lessons ever taught, that Aquinas has ever taught me. When I struggled, people invested in me. When I disappointed people, they challenged me. When I doubted myself, they believed in me. And when I considered walking away, they pulled me a little bit closer. Julie didn't dismiss me. Instead, she challenged me to become more present. That challenge eventually led me to deeper opportunities in the Writing Center community. It opened doors I could have never even predicted. I became involved in consulting, I became involved in writing circles, I was the editor-in-chief in Magna Verba, and eventually I started to serve as a teaching assistant in a couple classes. Dr. Durham, he didn't hold my mistakes against me. Instead, he actually welcomed me into another class. And his patience encouraged me to pursue political science as my degree, participate in Model United Nations and Model United Arab League, and discover talents and passions I didn't even know I possessed. Coach Crane encouraged me to stay when leaving seemed easier, and Cal reminded me that I did not have to that who I had been did not have to determine who I would become. Those moments, they may have seemed small at the time. I look back and I realized they changed the whole course of my college experience. The funny thing is that my story at Aquinas, it doesn't really fit that traditional college narrative. I wasn't really the perfect student. I didn't have a great GPA. My GPA was far from perfect, and I hated homework, like really hated homework. I wasn't a student that had a 5-year plan map out down to every detail kind of idea. In fact, that was actually one of the few things that really made me different from everyone else. Everyone seemed to have a plan. Everyone seemed to have a mapped out end goal, something they were looking forward to, and down the line. And political science majors, they were all headed to law school or graduate school, and others around were beginning their long career paths. And whatever people asked me what my plan was, I never really had a certain answer. Never really believed life worked that way either. I didn't come to Aquinas because I had every step in my plan, my future mapped out. I came because I wanted to grow. I wanted to deepen my understanding of people. I wanted to find ways to help others. And somewhere along the way, I realized growth doesn't always happen according to a plan. Most of the meaningful experience of my life happened because I said yes to opportunities I never even expected. I became editor-in-chief of the Saint. I was an orientation leader, which happened like a week before orientation because I texted and said, maybe I can do it if you need someone. And I joined organizations I never even imagined being a part of, and I met mentors, and that changed my life forever, formed friendships that will last forever. And none of these experiences, none of these moments were part of some master plan I came in with. They all just became some of the most important parts of my journey. One of my most notable memories happened during orientation. I was holding my orientation sign as all the freshmen were kind of coming in and gathering, and I look around and see all these incoming students, and I remember telling myself something simple. One moment of courage, 1 minute of being your true self, that can change your whole life. I didn't know it then, but that idea would end up becoming the foundation of everything that followed. Because growth rarely happens all at once. Instead, it happens in moments. Moments when someone challenges you, some moments when someone believes in you, moments when someone chooses courage instead of comfort, and moments when you decide to become a little bit better than you were the day before. For me, Aquinas became a collection of those moments. One of the experiences I'm most proud of is serving as editor-in-chief. This role gave me an opportunity to give back to the community that's given me so much. In many ways, this has become the greatest gift at my time at Aquinas, is the opportunity to invest in others the way so many others invested in me. It wasn't always easy. There were challenges, and I wasn't sure I was able to handle them. There were moments I doubted myself, but I learned that leadership isn't always about having those answers. Leadership is about showing up anyway. It's about serving others. It's about believing in something bigger than yourself. Together, we brought back the physical version of a student newspaper, which we haven't seen in years. We established a consistent online publication, and we helped create a publication that reflected the stories and voices and all of the experience of the Aquinas community, not just limited to the students, but all encompassing. Even that accomplishment, though, it wasn't really about me. It wasn't about the people that the stories deserve to be told. And that's another lesson Aquinas got to teach me, is life becomes a whole lot more meaningful when it stops becoming about yourself. When I arrived at Aquinas, I often made decisions in reaction to other people. Sometimes I wanted to prove others wrong. Sometimes I wanted to succeed despite others. And sometimes I let criticism determine my direction, but Aquinas taught me something better. It taught me that I don't have to live my life in spite of others. I can live my life for something. I can live my life for service, for community, for purpose, and for faith. And perhaps that brings me to the most important transformation of all. When I came to Aquinas, I expected that intellectual growth, I expected the academic growth, but what I really didn't expect was the spiritual growth. You see, before college, so much of my life had felt planned. Everything seemed to revolve around what that next step is, that next goal, that next achievement, that next destination, but Aquinas had taught me something of the best things in life, those can't be planned. Some of those greatest opportunities arrive unexpectedly. Some of the most important relationships appear when you least expect them. And some of the most meaningful growth happens when God takes you somewhere you never intended to go. As I continue to grow, people will still ask me what happened, what's coming next. And the truth is, I don't know every detail. I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years, and truthfully, I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 months. I don't know every step of the road ahead, but for the first time in my life, I'm comfortable with that. It's not because I lack ambition. It's not because I lack that direction. It's because I trust that there's a purpose greater than my own plans. I believe God is still writing my story, and I've learned that my job is not to know every chapter in advance. My job is to just keep growing and to keep serving and to keep saying yes to opportunities and to trust where that path leads. So, as I stand here tonight, I realize something remarkable. The boy who arrived at Aquinas College with 1 foot out the back door is no longer here. In his place stands someone shaped by mentors, friends, professors, and coaches in the community that refused to give up on me. Someone who learned that leadership is service. Someone who learned that growth requires humility. Someone who's learned that faith sometimes means embracing the uncertainty. And someone who learned that belonging is one of the greatest gifts that a community is able to offer. So, to the donors, alumni, faculty, staff, and supporters all gathered here tonight, thank you. Thank you for believing in Aquinas. Thank you for investing in this community. And thank you for making stories like mine possible. Because when you support Aquinas, you are doing more than funding buildings, scholarships, programs, or opportunity organizations. You are ultimately investing in people. You're investing in transformation. And I know that because 4 years ago, I arrived here with 1 foot out the door, and tonight I stand before you as evidence of what this community can do when it refuses to give up on someone. I arrived at Aquinas believing I knew everything, and I leave knowing that growth will never truly end. And for that lesson, I'm tremendously grateful for this community, and I'll be grateful for this for the rest of my life. Thank you.